glad to be here. For those who are just coming on, I'm in Oceanside at the beach, so it's really a nice time away. So yeah, I'm actually, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I kind of wake up in the morning and I'm all over the place, and with all that's going on in the world, it's been kind of challenging for me to kind of trust everything, and I start finding myself getting distracted by distrust and just like freaking out, actually, and just kind of working with that and knowing, I can see through it, but at the same time, there's just part of me, I guess the part of me that wants to control the world, that, gets scared, and I find that I don't trust. But when I go, I have wonderful people in my life who remind me. I have a prayer partner who reminds me. I have practices and teachings and readings that remind me. And so this morning I wanted to just kind of talk about that and then go into a practice about, really radically trusting ourselves and trusting our life in all that's going on in the world and all that's going on in our own life. So good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're all here. So I thought I'd start with a quote that I found this weekend from Muji, who's a wonderful spiritual teacher. And the quote goes like this: "If you do not trust life to unfold, the mind takes over, and it becomes a game of strategy motivated by anxiety. This mistrust is unfair. Life has given us so much, and yet we do not trust it." I'm just going to read that one more time. If you do not trust life to unfold, the mind takes over, and it becomes a game of strategy motivated by anxiety. This mistrust is unfair. Life has given us so much, and yet we do not trust it. I thought, oh boy, I needed to hear that. Just because something's coming up, some challenges, and I find that I start to try and manage everything, try to control everything, and then it really is. It's caused, and then I started noticing I'm feeling anxiety, and so it's been a huge lifelong practice for me to surrender and to trust, and I know that when I do that my life really does flow in such beautiful ways, in unexpected ways that I wouldn't, have imagined. But when I'm trying to control everything, it doesn't mean we don't make goals and have aspirations and all that wonderful stuff, which is probably, good and wise and important. But if I find myself getting attached to that, where I'm caught up in anxiety, then that's not really very, I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting the process. I'm not trusting life. I'm not trusting the creative process. And that's what we teach in the science of mind. We teach about the creative process and how it works. And how as we get quiet and tap into an infinite wisdom that's within me and within everyone and within all of life, when I tap into that and recognize that I'm one with that and I'm an expression of that creative power and source, and then I could be open to serve and to give and to share and to be and to become all that I was meant to become, even in unexpected ways I didn't know I was going to become. So I love this kind of idea of trusting, and then, doing morning practices that really help me to stay in alignment with that vibration of trust and peace. This morning I was getting up because I'm on vacation here, and we were washing our clothes. We're going to be leaving here later today, and I had no more clothes but the shirt that I actually have on right now, and it says this. It says, you need to let go, and you need to let that shit go, Buddha. You need to let that shit go. I was like, oh my God, I gotta find another shirt to wear, because I can't wear a shirt that says shit on it, So anyway, you need to let that shit go, Buddha, which of course Buddha did not say it that way, but he does share that we get all caught up in attachments. If we just let it all go, just let everything go and just be, then we can find that we recognize something within ourselves, a deep, all-abiding sense of peace, and within that there's a trust in the unfoldment of life. I don't have to force everything. I don't have to control everything. So I thought I'd do a little morning practice around that this morning, and just being in the flow. I know for me, it starts in the morning when I get up. What am I paying attention to? I had wonderful teachers in my life, like Reverend Dr. David Leonard, and who nurtured the garden of my soul, I call him, the gardener of my soul, my heart. And he would teach me every day, if you do your morning practices, if you do your, your treatment, your, affirmative prayers and all that stuff, then it really does make a difference. So I thought I'd start with, this actually comes from Thich Nhat Hanh's book, No Mud, No Laws, one of my favorite books. I know some of you have seen me do this before, or heard me share things from this before. And this one is really wonderful about waking up in the morning, and it's kind of an interesting practice. And so I'll read it a couple times as we get going. And it's basically four lines. And he says, breathe in on the first line, breathe out on the second line, breathe in on the third line, and breathe out on the fourth line. So I'm going to share that in that way. And this is the way Thich Nhat Hanh began to memorize these mindfulness practices. And what I especially love about this one is about starting your morning off to live in happiness. Before I actually read that quote, the verse, he says that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is to breathe and to become aware that you have 24 brand new hours to live. This is a gift of life. And life is this every day. So let's begin by observing our body just sitting here. Wherever you find yourself, knowing that on some level, each one of us here this morning, that we're together in mind and consciousness, that we're supporting each other on our path this morning. And so just giving ourselves this time just to surrender and let go of everything and just be right where we are, just as we are. Honoring ourselves where we are in this moment, recognizing that no matter how young or old we are, we're always growing, always learning, always evolving on this path of life. And so we trust life today. We trust ourselves today in the process of life. Just noticing our body sitting here breathing. The rise and the fall of the breath, just like the waves of the ocean rise and fall. So does our body rise and fall with each breath. We trust this breath that's been breathing us since the day we were born, as a gift of life. We give thanks for this breath, for this moment right here, right now. And so we create this space to just stop everything and just to be present in this moment, observing this breath. And we allow the world to be just as it is right now. There's nothing we have to fix or figure out or change just for this little bit of time together this morning. And so here's the practice from Thich Nhat Hanh. So on the first, I'll read it once, and then we'll breathe in and breathe out together with each verse. So, waking up in the morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. So on the inhalation, waking up this morning, I smile. On the exhalation, I have 24 hours to live. On the inhalation, I vow to live them deeply. And the exhalation, and I learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. Waking up this morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply. I learn to look at beings around me with the eyes of compassion. And just for a few minutes together in the silence, and just being present in this moment, breathing this breath. Waking up this morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply. I learn to look at other beings around me with the eyes of compassion. Waking up in the morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply. Learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. Observing this breath that is breathing me right now, I trust this breath has been breathing me since the day I was born. I trust the process of life, the creative process that supports me each day. I give thanks for the awareness to recognize this creative process and how it works in my life and how I could work with it. And it could work through me as I share and be and become all that I was meant to become. I trust the process of life. I trust it for myself, and I trust it for the entire world. Even when I can't always see it, I trust it. I do my part today to share and to be. I vow to live this day deeply. If you do not trust life to unfold, the mind takes over and it becomes a strategy motivated by anxiety. This mistrust is unfair. Life has given us so much, and yet we tend to not trust it. So that's a quote from Uji. Let's begin to bring our attention back now. Just noticing our body sitting here, breathing. And taking a few conscious breaths, allowing ourselves to feel the sense of peace. And within this peace, there's a wisdom. Within this wisdom, there's a trust in life. And the good news is we don't have to do it together. We have each other. We start our day together. We support each other in many ways. And so for this, we give thanks. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Of course, every morning, 9:15 a.m.